the new marketing for your small business podcast. Delivering the latest opportunities in marketing to help your small business grow and prosper in a digital world.
Hello and welcome to the new marketing for your small business podcast. My name is Luke Porter with Moving Tree Media.
And my name is William Schultz with Vivid Concepts Media.
And we got an awesome episode for you today. I think it's going to be really helpful for marketers and small business owners, heck, even medium-sized business owners. William, what is our topic today?
All right, man. So today our topic is going to be, where is your audience? And when we talk about that, we're talking about on social media. Where is your audience? Where are your customers? Where are your consumers? Because what we're going to find out today is different platforms offer different opportunities to engage with different type of consumers and customers. So that's what our topic is today, and we're going to dive right in right now. So Luke and I, we both do a lot with social media, content creation. We work with a lot of different clients. So I think Luke's the man to answer this question because he's been doing this a while. So Luke, tell the audience, tell me, why is it important for a business to know where their audience is on social media?
I think a big part of it is, what are you getting for all your hard-earned marketing dollars you're spending on this, your time that you're investing into this? You don't want to be putting a lot of time and effort into a platform where your audience simply isn't there. So I think that is a huge part of it. As business owners, we're all very busy people. And if we are pouring all of our energy into LinkedIn, but if our target audience is under 24, that's kind of a waste of our time. There's something like 81% of people on LinkedIn are older than age 24. So knowing those things, knowing where our audience is, can help us fine-tune our marketing and help us make it more productive and more cost-effective.
And I'll echo that in terms of something that we see a lot of from traditional marketers, and what I run up across when I'm working with maybe more of a corporate structure is people still try to market to everybody, right? You see a lot of people that they have this, and Gary Vee talks about this quite a bit, where when you're trying to market to everybody, you're literally marketing to nobody because you're trying to be too broad with your audience. And so it misses everybody. And I think that with social media, and to echo what you said, identifying who your consumers are and where they're at is a better bang for your buck, right?
Definitely.
Along those lines, talk about how do you think people do market to everybody versus marketing to a specific audience? Where are those mistakes? What do you see when people are making those kind of mistakes?
A lot of times they go so broad that their content is honestly boring. It's bland. When you target for everyone, you are just vanilla ice cream. And vanilla ice cream's nice sometimes, but then you're missing out on the mint ice cream, the cookies and cream, the raspberry ice cream, the flavors that get people excited. And you want your content to be exciting and engaging. And if it's just vanilla everywhere, because you are just targeting absolutely everyone on the planet, it's going to be boring, chances are, and it's not going to engage, and you're not going to see those numbers that you want to see.
I would agree. Something that I've had the opportunity, and I think you have too. I've worked with a couple of mortgage and real estate clients that have social media baked into their marketing from their corporate entity, right? And what I've noticed is the content that we've created for our clients that have personalized touches that talk about them personally, maybe their family, maybe a video of them, maybe their kids, their pets, that performs two times better than the content that the corporate entity is beaming in, that is just that vanilla, that bland, that blah, 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 real basic stuff that doesn't reach anybody.
Yeah, I would agree with that. With the mortgage brokers and the real estate agents and the insurance agents that I've worked with, I've actually seen the content that's more authentic and natural perform 3 to 4 times better than those generic corporate posts.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this then, following up on kind of what we're talking about here. How does somebody figure out where their audience is on social media?
So One thing to do is there's a lot of data online on the metrics, and a lot of that's age, sex, location, but that's a good starting point. Like I mentioned before, about 81% of people on LinkedIn are over age 24. And on the flip side of that, when you're looking at a newer platform like TikTok, 80% of the people on TikTok are under age 40. So I've got several clients who are law firms, and their target audience for them, since it's estate planning, is 45 to 65-year-olds. So TikTok is not in our marketing strategy, even though TikTok is an amazing platform with unbelievable amounts of opportunity. The audience just isn't there. So if you can just Google search these things, the audiences for each platform, you'll get a great breakdown of the numbers. What you'll find is probably the most even distribution as far as age, interests, gender, location is going to be Instagram and YouTube. Young to old, everybody seems to use those two platforms, especially YouTube, since it's actually the second largest search engine on the internet after Google. But also, if you already have like a Facebook audience, if you already have 1,000 followers for your page, you can go check the insights, and you can actually do this on Instagram, you can do it on TikTok. You can go look at your insights, and it will tell you who your audience is. It'll tell you, a lot of times it's like kind of a bell curve. Like a lot of my clients who are realtors and mortgage brokers, it's a bell curve where most of their audience is in that 35 to 45 range. It'll tell you their location, and you can use that as a jumping off point.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you found any good ways to identify that audience online?
I think my ways are similar to yours. Google, or also through listening to other marketers, listening to other podcasts, and other experts in the field that have been doing this a lot longer than me and have access to a lot better data sets than I do, and just kind of getting an idea of what they're saying. And then honestly, the other way I find out is by using these platforms and consuming some of the content on there and getting an idea of what's going on. I will say that I'm probably guilty of not utilizing YouTube Shorts quite yet, but let's talk about the big five, right? So what are the big five? We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have LinkedIn, and we have YouTube, right? I would say those are the big five, right? And those are the major places where businesses, brands, and people and consumers are all hanging out at. You could throw in Snapchat and other things like that, but those, like a Snapchat's a lot less public, right? So I think one way to identify these audiences, and one way I'm able to, is to actually use the platforms. And then I would agree with you as you were stating that something like a YouTube or Facebook has probably a more broader, wider range of people, but the most active users, like you said, like on Facebook, are going to be more in that 45 to 65 range, right? My sons, I have two sons in their 20s, they have Facebook, but they're never on it, right? They're more apt to be on a LinkedIn and TikTok, than they are. And honestly, even they're kind of off TikTok now. They're kind of, I'm sorry, not LinkedIn. I said LinkedIn, but I meant Instagram or TikTok. And they're kind of weaned off TikTok, and they're kind of back on Instagram again because of the reels. So I just think that listening, studying, like you said, using the Google search, and then consuming these platforms yourself is a great way to figure that out.
Probably another good way is to look at your clients or your own competitors that are doing it well. There's a lot of competitors that are still very old school, I'm sure, sending out postcards in the mail, but finding those competitors who are doing social right, check which platforms they're on, what they're doing on each one, just not to copy what they're doing, but just to get information and to get inspired.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you know your audience, then on each of these platforms, what next?
I think after you know your audience, you want to create your page. And I think sometimes, and I've seen this with some people, believe it or not, some businesses create personal accounts and then they call them their business name. And the reason why you have to stay away from that is because you don't get the data analytics, like Luke was talking about, that you get associated with a business account. When you have a business account, you are given data sets. You're getting information that will say, how many people are engaging in your content? How many people liked it? Where are they coming from? In terms of what geographical location? You might get who engaged. You might get who commented. You might get if it's men or women, what their age is. So you don't get that information with a personal account, right? The other thing you can't do with a personal account is you cannot advertise. You cannot sell advertising through a personal account, but you can with a business account. So I think once you've identified that, you need to create the right kind of account for that platform. I think the other thing is then you have to try to figure out what does that audience want, in that specific platform, because what people are looking for on Instagram is going to be different from what they're looking for on LinkedIn, right? Because it's a different experience. LinkedIn is probably going to be a little bit of a younger audience, maybe your 25 to 45-year-old audience, and they might be a lot less professional and more personal kind of content on Instagram versus LinkedIn. As you had stated earlier, you're going to have a more mature demographic, and they're looking for something different. You don't go to LinkedIn looking for silly videos. You don't go to LinkedIn looking for the newest dance craze. You don't go to LinkedIn looking for the newest health recipe or workout. You go to LinkedIn for probably something that's a little bit more corporate, something that's a little bit more business. Maybe you're going for more information about a corporation. You might be looking for more of how-to videos in a professional setting. Maybe it's how to market, how to do sales, how to close a client, things of that nature. So I think it's just identifying what you can do and what the kind of content those clients, that audience wants from that social media platform.
No, that's great information. I love that. And I would also add like a bonus tip on that even though we're talking about which platforms make the most sense to be on, a potential client who's going to research you, just the way that SEO works, the way Google search engine works, you probably should have a Facebook presence no matter what, because anytime you Google a business, just the way SEO works, their Facebook page is always going to be in those first 10 results. So you don't want a potential client coming to your Facebook page and seeing absolutely nothing. Even if most of your audience makes way more sense on Instagram, it's important to at least upkeep a basic Facebook page with some regular content.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Something that I'm doing a marketing workshop next week, and the guy that is putting that together, he had a list of 4 things that were relevant. What was website, social media content, social media networks, and SEO, right? And he said, websites we think we should talk about first. And I was like, well, hey, listen, sometimes when you first start your business, you don't have the time, the know-how, or the money to create a website. So you should my suggestion would be to create a Facebook page first and foremost, because it's the one social media platform that acts the most like a web page, right? Because you can have about section, you can have your contacts, you can have your location, you can have reviews on there, you can have albums specifically dedicated to certain topics, right? Maybe if you're a cake business or a bakery, you got cakes, your cake album and your cupcake album. So that's your way to kind of advertise. But then you can also run ads in a store directly from that. So it's a great point that you're making, that you should probably have a Facebook account, maybe regardless of what your business is and what your audience is, because it can not only act as your SEO driver, right, but also as a website.
Yeah, and you might actually find that your Facebook posts, if you don't boost them, if you don't run ads or anything, just your plain old Facebook posts are actually going to be your least performing posts across all platforms, just the way that Facebook's been working over the last 5-7 years. So I still would say don't let that discourage you, because even if they're not getting a lot of engagement, they are going to get eyes on them.
All right. So let me ask you this then. Once you have identified your platform, right? You've created your business account and you're ready to roll. How do we know, what kind of content we should be putting up on these different platforms, and what content works best on what platforms?
The main thing to keep in mind for everything is you got to give people value. People don't want to be sold to. People don't want to be preached to. People don't want stuff shoved down their throat. People want to be entertained or educated or inspired. Those are the big three things: entertainment, education, inspiration. That's value in a nutshell on social media. And there's a different kind of ratio for each of those on each platform. Like for LinkedIn, educational content does the best by far. Absolutely by far. You can get away with the longest content on LinkedIn as well. People are fine reading basically an entire blog post just in your post for the day. Educational stuff like 3 things you didn't know about my business. Something simple like that can do extremely well on LinkedIn, where something like that on Facebook might not get a lot of traction. So for LinkedIn, education is top, and then inspiration. You don't see as much funny or entertaining content on there. And over on something like Instagram, inspiration is actually the top thing. People go to Instagram to be inspired. And Gary Vee talks about this too. You got to think about the mindset of a person when they go to each platform. You could have the same exact person go to LinkedIn and then go to TikTok, and they will react differently to the exact same piece of content, because you got to think about why they came to that platform in the first place. So over on TikTok, entertaining content is still king and probably will be for a while, but educational content does amazing on TikTok.
Yeah.
And even though it's short form vertical videos, people like these little quick nuggets of information. So if you can just teach them one thing about your business or product or service, or one interesting fact about your industry or something that's happening in the news, just one thing that you can talk about in 30 seconds to a minute, you're teaching them something, and that content does extremely well on TikTok. So I would say LinkedIn, education is king. Instagram, inspiration is king. And YouTube and TikTok, entertainment and education.
And I would say too, to our listeners out there, we don't want you to get overwhelmed and feel like you got to be on all these platforms, right, Luke? Because something that I know we both recommend is like, find the platform that's best for you and your business, and just maybe double and triple down on that for a while until you find your cadence, you find your audience, you find your rhythm. And that could be for a year. That could take 2 years. These platforms aren't going away anytime soon, right? So you have the ability to take your time to figure out what's best for you. I would say too, like, think about LinkedIn. You said, written content tends to work better on that platform than maybe something like something like Facebook, because people tend to have a little bit longer attention span going on LinkedIn, and they're looking for a little bit longer format content. So even if it's not just a video, you tend to see longer posts, written copy doing pretty well on LinkedIn as well. So just for you guys out there listening, we're not saying you have to be everything for everybody. We're just trying to make sure you understand there's a method to some of this content madness. And so let me ask you this: with this kind of content, video and writing and blogs and all this digital designs, are these things that people can do, or are they going to have to bring somebody in to do this stuff for them?
Well, there's kind of 2 schools of thought on that. One is, if you're going to do it yourself, you should probably learn what you're doing. So there's a time investment to learn this. You can go on YouTube and search for how to grow an audience on TikTok, and you're going to find hundreds of videos. To really learn it well, you're probably going to have to put about 30, 40 hours into it to really get a feel for it. So the benefit to that is that you do understand the ins and outs of it better. And if you do decide to hire someone down the line, you'll have a better understanding of what they're doing, what they can offer, of kind of judging if they're the right person to work with you. And there are a lot of great tools out there for creating graphic content on something like Canva. There's tools out there to add great captioning to your videos that people like to see with big, bold letters and colors. There's so many tools out there. The only issue is the time investment to learn each one of those tools. So yeah, you can absolutely do it yourself. You can learn it. You might even find yourself enjoying it, and especially enjoying one platform over another and engaging more with that platform, which is great anyways. But if you are a busy business owner, you might not want to put those 40 hours in, plus all the hours to learn each tool. in which case hiring a professional brings with not only those time savings, but their expertise of knowing what works well, not just in your industry, but what are the trends across multiple industries? What kind of split testing can we do? Does your audience like to see a logo on your post or no logo on your post? What kind of Facebook targeting works for your audience? Bringing in a social media expert brings in all that information. So even though you may not understand the ins and outs of it as well, you will have access to better data and over time, probably more audience growth. I mean, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would even take it a step further and say sometimes it's really cool when you have a client that has taken some initiative and they're doing a good job at posting content, and then you're mixing in maybe your more professional, more refined, more tailored content that's been used, with a $10,000 recorded with a $10,000 camera and great microphones and has been edited by a professional editor. And then you mix that in with your client who's been doing some of their own stuff with their phone and just kind of putting things out there. I have a client that I'm working with now. I just do 2 posts a week for them. That's a little bit more manicured, a little bit more professional and polished. And then they've been supplementing that like every day of the week with their own stuff right off of their camera. So off their phone. So that's even, when you get both worlds working together, that can create some pretty cool synergy as well. I don't know, anything to follow up on that before we take it home?
Yeah, I have clients that are the same way, and they'll even ask me like, hey, Luke, you're doing all these posts for us. Is it going to mess things up if I post too? I'm like, no, by all means, the more content, the better. People's attention is so fragmented that you got to be able to get in front of them with good content whenever you get the chance. So I absolutely encourage that. And for people doing their own social media, one thing that I would encourage them is to keep it manageable, where, like William was saying, if you can't be on every single platform and do a great job on every platform all at once and run your business, it's just too much. So once you find where your audience is, to keep it as simple as you can, where I've seen a lot of people just go gangbusters for 3 weeks and post 3 times a day, and then they get burnt out so quickly and they find out so quickly it doesn't work, and then they give up. Yeah. And what I don't want people to do is give up on it, because it absolutely works. So find a way to make it work in your life and in your schedule.
Absolutely. Well, look, guys, to wrap things up, we're just going to go over this. Here's kind of your checklist for how to figure out what your platforms are, where you should be. First of all, you want to recognize that it is important for your business to be on these social media channels. So if your business, maybe you personally, but if your business is not on here on one of these channels, make sure you're ready to get them on there, because they need to be to reach people. The other thing is to take a little time to research, like Luke said, go on Google, maybe listen to some podcasts, do some research, and find out, where's my audience? So who is your audience? Maybe you are targeting people that are 30 to 45 years old. Well, you put that in Google and they're going to give you some answers. You're going to do a little research, maybe an hour or 2 at most, to figure out where your audience is. And once you figure that out, then you're going to start creating your accounts. You're going to start figuring out what kind of content works. And like we had said earlier too, engage, use some of these platforms. Spend a day or two just monkeying around on TikTok or Instagram and seeing what a reel is, seeing what a TikTok is, seeing what link is going on LinkedIn. Because, Luke and I both are LinkedIn proponents. And I know Luke's really heavy on LinkedIn, and it's not your mom and dad's LinkedIn anymore. It's not the same thing that you probably remember since the last time you posted your resume on there 5 years ago. It has changed quite a bit. So just make sure you're doing your work, and then create your content. Whether you're going to do it yourself or hire in a professional, make sure you're getting some content up there weekly, daily, hourly, if it comes down to it. But don't burn yourself out, and don't think you have to be everywhere at every time, right? You can just pick one platform and just post on there until you get your feet wet. So Don't try to do it too much, but make sure you're doing something, because the worst content I've ever seen in my life is the content that you never posted. Okay. So we like to always wrap our show up with projects that we've been working on. So Luke, why don't you talk to us about a cool project that you got going on right now?
Well, one of my clients is a real estate agent, Joe Kirk with Lake Sotheby's, and I have been encouraging him to do short vertical videos, put them on all the big short platforms. And he's been doing it. And you know what? It has been 3 times the engagement and 3 times the views of his normal content. And what I encourage him to do is 3 things Thursdays. So every Thursday, we post a video where he talks about 3 things in 1 minute. Like, some of it's personal stuff too. It is not all business stuff. Like, him and his wife are expecting a baby girl. And one of his videos was 3 things he's nervous about that. And then 3 things he's excited about that. And that kind of content humanizes him, shows off his personality. And that's the kind of stuff that I encourage with all my clients, that you need some of that human factor in with the business stuff. That's what people are drawn to. So every week he's been doing those 3 things Thursdays. He shoots the footage himself on his own phone. I edit it. I add the captions. I do the copywriting. I do the posting, the boosting, and it's good stuff. So I would encourage you to check that out.
All right.
How about you?
Cool.
What's something cool that you got going on?
I think the project that I'm working on, that we get to work on together is, I think I've probably talked about it before, but it's one of my favorite clients to work on. It's United Family Medicine, which is a federally funded healthcare center here in the Twin Cities area, St. Paul area of Minnesota. And, the reason I enjoy this client so much is there's so many different stories to tell, and there's so many different lives that they're touching. And the CEO had sent me, so the CEO and the board they've changed the care model at this clinic over the last couple of years. And one of the things they've created is there's more community services that aren't necessarily medical services, but they're like community-oriented services that are designed to provide better healthcare, because sometimes we only think of healthcare as like physicals and surgery and medicine, but we don't think about, like, people need transportation to get to the clinic, so they can get their diagnosis, so they can, get their healthcare, right? And so they created a division that's of community healthcare workers, which are essentially kind of social workers. And recently, the CEO, Ann, had sent me a couple different stories that showed that this new care model is really making an impact. And one of the things it did was, this particular client, they were able to find them tokens for the bus. So the client can now, or the patient can now, get to the clinic for free with tokens from the city bus company here. So I just thought that was interesting, and I was able to take that little story and turn it into a graphic. And then I posted it, and that got shared by like a larger healthcare brokerage, kind of like not sure what we call it, but it was just kind of cool. Like, it's just so cool to be a part of these stories and share it and see that some of the work that Luke and I are doing with this clinic is actually going to have a real impact on people's lives, because we're creating content that's engaging more people to come to this clinic. So that's the thing, man, that I've been working on, and it's also great because I get to work with you on that.
Yeah, I love that. It's been such an experience learning all the different layers of something like a clinic, all these little things that you never think about, and there's so many opportunities there. And maybe that's the bonus tip for this episode, is what are those long tail stories about your business? Like, if you are a mortgage broker and you help someone get into their dream house, and then 3 years down the road, you see them on Facebook and they're remodeling their bathroom and it looks really cool. Well, I mean, that's content you could comment on. You could comment on it. You could even ask them if you could share it, because they wouldn't be remodeling that bathroom if you hadn't helped them get into that dream house. And that's a great story to tell. So keep an eye out for those opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, Luke, why don't you take it home for us, man?
Yeah, so this is the New Marketing for Your Small Business podcast. You can find us on Facebook by searching for that. We have a group there where we post business tips and tricks. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms. If you are watching this on YouTube, where the video version is, you can also get the audio version through Spotify, Google, Apple, you name it, we are there. And we would love to get your feedback, your reviews, your thoughts, and your suggestions for future episodes. So thank you so much for listening.
Real quick, sorry to step on your toes, but real quick, can we give a shout out to the 50 people that downloaded the podcast, man? Can we get a shout out?
That's right. We hit 50 downloads, not bad for a brand new podcast that William and I are so busy with our own businesses. We don't even get to promote this podcast very much at all. So that's, I think, mostly just organic search, people finding us. So thank you for those 50 downloads.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next episode.
Thanks, guys.